All right, bang, bang. Today is Thursday. It is September 25th. Welcome to Dog Walk, presented by Barstool Sports. Today in studio, I'm joined by Chief, and we also are joined by Jim Gorman. Jim Gorman is a good Southside man who has lived quite the life. Once I heard about him, I was like, we got to have this guy in here. I literally just said off mic, I was like, has anyone called you like a Forest Gump of Chicago? And you said you have heard that before.
I have several times.
Well, explain what that means. What is that? Why do you say that?
Because he's done so many different things. He's been a Chicago fireman.
Three different careers. I was lucky to do be in a position in my life where I was able to change careers that were, I didn't get stuck in one. I have career ADD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I said that about another guy who's a Santa Rita guy as well, who you definitely know is Jay Bird.
Oh yeah,
the coach.
Oh yeah,
he's lived a million lives.
He's
too.
Great.
Yeah, he was on here too. A little different than Jay Bird, I would say. But no, it's we're pumped to have you in, man. Thank you.
Appreciate the time. Thanks.
Hey, before we get into today's episode, I want to talk about my friends at Game Time. There's nothing like a crisp fall night at the ballpark, but trying to get there is brutal. You're stuck in a queue, prices jump at checkout, you're logged out mid-click. All you want to do is be in the stands, beer in hand, yelling with the crowd. The Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's a hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means that you can trust you'll get 100% authentic MLB tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. I'm looking on Game Time, Chief, and I see Cubs Mets for tonight. It looks like they're $34.
Oh, nice deal.
Yeah, this weekend, last weekend at Wrigley.
Yeah.
So,
can I tell you something to get a little giddy for? October 11th.
Okay.
Canadians, Blackhawks. Center. Hockey is back. $64 to get in.
There you go.
Yep.
The return of the Blackhawks. So, yeah, this is the last weekend to go to Wrigley outside of the playoffs. So,
yeah,
look at that Cubs-Cardinals series.
It would have been beautiful last night, too.
Would've
so, like,
nice.
these end of days where you have, like, nice 70-degree weather, dips to the 60s at night, that, to me, is, like, perfect Wrigley Field weather.
Yeah, it's real good stuff. So, take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DOGWALK for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DOGWALK for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Yeah, so we're going to get into all of it. We're going to get into the event that you're doing here in October. October 17th at the Trump Tower with Rob O'Neill, Brian Hubbard, Dean Scott. You were explaining the cause to me, and it was fascinating, and it sounds like it's helping a lot of people, and it's going to help more. So we can get into that at some point. But first, let's get into you. So, what was the first career path that you went down?
I grew up here. There was 7 in my family. 5. There was a girl, 5 boys, and another girl. And my parents. There was 9 people in one house. We had 1 bathroom. My grandpa was a cop. My dad was a cop. My uncles were cops. And it's blue collar, go to work. Nobody had a finished basement in the neighborhoods then. It was just nobody had extra income to join leagues. You just played in the park. And I went to college for a semester. I got kicked out for, turns out if you don't go to class a lot, they'll send you home. Had a blast. Met some great guys. I still get invited to St. Ambrose events. I still go. I was there one semester.
Made an impression.
God, they were I burned bright, but I was out of there quick.
Yeah.
Just great guys. A great run. Bunch of Southsiders went out there and just crushed it. Just great guys. And then after that, I was a carpenter and banging nails for a while. And I went to St. Rita. Just couldn't find a better group of guys to run with. And we just had beers every weekend. And it was just a guys group. We were just, you go with the guys and do our thing. I was blessed to have a great group of friends like that. And then I was banging nails, great guys, but I just looked at them and they were all beat up. We went drinking every day at lunch, and then after work. So I was going down that road where I just thought, I love the job, but I don't know if I want to do this for 40 years. So one day at work, right across the street was a Navy recruiting office. So I just went there during lunch. I was literally filthy, and they said, you can't join right away. You got to take their tests and everything. So over a series of a couple of days, I didn't tell anyone I was joining. I never told my folks. I told maybe 1 or 2 friends. That was it. And then
how old were you then?
I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah. Then they had a delayed entry thing, and then I joined. And then while there and in boot camp, I left there, and one of the officers in boot camp, a chief, whoever he was, said, "Hey, are you interested in submarines?" And I said no. And he said, "Well, they pay $300 a month extra." So at the time I was like, all right, what do I got to do for that? So I started testing for that, and then I went to a class, and there was about, I don't know, 70 of us in there, 70-ish, and a guy came in a suit, and he said, "Hey, we're looking for people to work in special projects. I don't know what it is. I don't know where you go. I don't know anything about it." He was just to start the paperwork. So they gave us the background paperwork to start, and the first phase of it is, I don't know, it's only like 20 pages, and you start filling that out, and then from there, another guy comes, you turn everything in. Another 2 weeks later, a guy comes, and he says, "I'll answer some questions. Where is this? I don't know. How long are you going to be gone? I don't know." So these guys they're not briefed in the program. They're saying there's a need here. Mm-hmm. And so I just kept filling out thinking, this will be a funny story to tell my brothers when I get kicked out, because they're not going to.
What's behind door number 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did everything the Navy that they tell you not to do. I raised my hand every time there was something to do. I have ADD, I'm sure. I was just like, if they're going, I'm in. Mm-hmm. So I would say at St. Rita, they were great to me, great teachers, but I always thought one of the skills I left with was that I knew enough to have enough beers with guys. And, you're not the fighter, you're not the ladies' man, you're not the, mm-hmm. There's a great culture on the South Side that probably North Side has too, that just, it's a value added that's completely overlooked, because I didn't get much out of school. I just didn't try. And the one skill that I had was able to get along with guys and be a team player and figure that out. And I thought, looking back, that was the only asset I had. That was my only added value to anything.
It's a great skill to have, though.
Honest to God, that's all I had. So, and then I filled everything out, and they picked 2 of us, me and this kid from the East Coast, and then they flew me out to the West Coast. I was there. You gotta wait for another couple of weeks, processing you. And small little base in Northern California, north of Frisco, for like 30 minutes outside of Frisco, and Mare Island is called that area. And really non-military. It was a great place to have this. So when I was there, they first called it Special Projects, and then they called it, which was not a good covert name to have, and then they called it the Research and Development Group, and then they called it Development Group 1. That's where, so there was the whole SEAL Development Group team, then was this whole underwater thing that they had.
So underwater meaning what? Are you guys?
You could go anywhere in the world. It was a submarine that was could do some pretty technical stuff.
Okay. Some
high-end stuff, and it was a Tier 1 program.
Okay.
And
so I don't know what that means. What does pretty technical stuff mean?
A lot of it's classified.
Okay.
So, but still. Yeah, it wasn't a regular submarine. It could do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And the briefing I went in. So you go to a trailer. Base have these trailers, and it's like a triple wide. It's covered with corrugated steel. It looked like a trailer. And I sat in the waiting room, which was smaller than this, and it was just the guy's room, and everything was dull brown, nothing. And then a guy went to walk in the room on my right. He put his hand in a box and put his chin on something, clicked some numbers, and the door opened, and it was about 1.5 feet wide. It was a safe. The whole building was a safe. So I was like, man, what the hell is going on in there? So then they called my name. I went in, and first room on the right, there's these vaults, and they brief you in your first kind of briefed in program. And my roommate, they put you with a guy that's going to kind of do the same job. And he was, we're out having a beer 3-4 days after this, and I was like, hey, Mike, did you go in that first room on the right up by that trailer? And he's like, yeah. I said, did you meet that guy? And he, did you get briefed in? And he said, yeah. It's like buying a home. You got to sign all these forms. And I said, do you have any idea what we're doing? He said, no, I have no idea, because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Your first brief in that you're looking at the guy like, who are you? Why am I here? You just let an idiot into the circus tent. Because I raised my hand as a funny story to tell my friends that I didn't make it.
Yeah.
And there I am. So then I waited for stuff, and then they flew me out, civilian clothes. We packed a bag. They flew us out to a site. A van picked us up, and plain van. It was on a regular highway. Then he went on a 2-lane highway. They were on a country road, and then he's on a dirt road. And then he pulls down along this fence, and you could see this dirt road. And he goes, I can't go past it. And I was like, well, I don't want to go down there either, you know. But as we were driving, he literally said, I happen to be sitting in the front. And he said, you're going to the president's boat, right? And I just looked at him like, of course, whatever. I had no idea what he's talking about, but I gave him that south side. Sure, whatever, bro. And we walked down this lane, and there was a house there. And it looked just like a house. It was a long ranch, and there was a guy there in khakis, a chief uniform. And some other people were like, well, here we go. So we went into there, and then they brief you in again. You had some coffee, and then there's all kinds of electronic equipment in there. It's not a regular house. And then there was a window there where they knew the satellites were going to be coming over. So it was like a 16, 18-minute window. So it was a long pier that went out behind this house. And they had these big carts. So we put our stuff in there, and there was a bunch of other stuff in there. And they said, we got to wheel this out to this pier. So I'm with these 2 other guys that I don't even know. And we wheel it down this pier, and to my left, this black submarine pops out of the water about 3 blocks down and pulls up to the pier, and all these big bearded men that I did not want to go anywhere with came out, and my knees were shaking. They were shaking. I was like, there's no way I want to get anywhere near here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, you know what, this was a joke.
I was doing it for the bit.
To be funny. No, it's not funny. And so I got underway. We put everything on that, and then we said we'd go, and we dove, and then that began a 10-year career with.
What year was that?
That was 1984.
Okay.
Yeah. So
still
Cold War. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And a tier 1 program, you have all your pipe hitters and Delta guys and all that. There's also them, but there's also the factor of that. There's a money issue, and there's a shortened chain of command. Like you either work for the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of Defense, or the President. So so that's part of
what do you mean a money issue?
We had a lot of money. You could you go to any
Okay.
schools you want. You could they flew me all over. They did. I was very lucky, and so it was that's how I ended up in there. And they only took about 2 guys. I went in as a striker, and anyone knows anything about the military or the Navy, that's the lowest you will ever go in. And then I was launched into this thing. And they only took about 2 guys that way as a striker, they call them. I didn't have a rate that call, hey, I'm just here. 9.5 out of 10 guys that do that end up chipping a boat and painting on the sides on a carrier. That's what you end up doing.
Yeah.
So I found a sliver to get into, and I ran with it. My only super skill was that I knew that every meeting I went into or any briefing or anything going on, I was always the dumbest guy in the room. So I always had to totally up my game, because that's where my wheels started to come together. Because before that, I couldn't do it.
So when you're going through to be this selection that you were doing as a joke, was there specific like aptitude tests, or was it just? Yeah,
there was. They sent you to a shrink, and then they did while I was there. I think when I was there, they took like 10 of us, because it was pretty high end stuff.
Yeah.
And I think 10 or 15 of it, maybe 10 to 8, and they had a certain percent of us that had to go see a shrink or something during this, and I went with a group of us, and it was really awkward because the lady and the guy who were running it, they weren't briefed in, so it was just kind of a gauge to see how we handled stuff coming back. And the usual, we were young, you know what happened. As soon as we got in, everybody we balled out, we went to bars and just ran hard, and it was a blast. So it was very non-military. We didn't have to deal with anybody. You never salute. I wore my uniform twice.
Really?
I just never had to. Yeah.
So you're basically a civilian inside the.
There were contractors there, and it was it was a very different work environment. I wasn't exposed to the regular Navy in the sense that they did ship me out to one to go see what a regular one would look like, submarine, and then I had some exposure there. But it was a very unique environment. My brother ran into a guy who was in the Navy for years, and his exact quote was, "I would have gave a leg to go where he went," and I just did it as a joke. Yeah.
So I'm maybe you can't say where it came out at, but what was that like when you got on the sub and then you finally are at your destination? Was it like, whoa?
Well, it took a minute. You know, you got to still. There's more briefs to get in. You got to cut your teeth. You know, you got to the birthing thing in there. It was when you're the new guy. Any guys out there, it was upward, starboard, outboard, aft. The new guy sleeps in the worst spot, and it was literally like shut that off. It was literally like crawling under a Volkswagen or a van, and sleeping. And I spent 3 days. I didn't. When the guy told me where I was sleeping, there was a big vent line and stuff, and he pointed, and you could barely see a bed in there. And I remember thinking, you know, that's funny. I'm the new guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't go in there for 3 days. I didn't go in there. Yeah, I didn't sleep. And I finally figured out he wasn't joking, man. I had to get my shit in there. You had to crawl around through the back end. It was all kinds of noise. It was the most. If I laid there and put my hand out, that was. If I wanted to roll over, I had to roll out in this spot and then roll back in.
Yeah. Wow. So they probably tested you for claustrophobia.
Oh,
you passed.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah.
And it was the hands. You know, I shouldn't say it, but when we were there, they said you were hand selected for that. And 20 years later, I go to an Army-Navy game. I end up sitting next to the Secretary of Navy and told him where I worked, and he just said, you guys were handpicked for that. So we always thought that was a joke. That was our line.
Wow.
But he actually said that at an event, yeah. And for me, the quality of people I met, and that was a demarcation in my life right there doing that. And then, you know, my worldview would just blew up from there. I was never concerned about anything more than the weekend in high school. You know, that's all. We just
Of course, yeah.
crushed it every weekend. And then, you know, so that was where my, you know, I started reading, devouring books, getting in. You know, guys would come and give you a brief and talk about something. I was like, how does that guy know that stuff?
Yeah.
They just devoured stuff, and that's where my lifelong passion for learning picked up.
What kind of books were?
Do you know the first one I read that they had on a shelf? It was by that attorney who wrote the book on Helter Skelter, Charlie Manson.
Yeah.
That guy, Bugliosi.
Okay.
That was on a shelf, and I thought, this looks interesting. That was the first one I actually finished. Other books that read, I'd start and I'd piddle them out. You'd run out of interest. That one was there, but then they had all kinds of regular reading books, and then you wanted to know. You know, we worked pretty hard. Southeast Asia division, they call it, kind of Russia, China, that area, and so you would want to read as much as you could about that stuff, and that's where my world just kind of just took off.
How much of your life in this period of your life was actually on ground in foreign countries, or is it not?
Well, where we went was like the alleys of the world, the back alleys of the world. So you can't,
Yeah.
But my last year working, I think I was gone 7 months, 7.5 months. It was like, it's not what people think. Like I would go to work and have my bag packed, and if things lined up and you were ready to go, I could be gone anywhere from 2 weeks to 3-4 months. So if I came home for dinner, she when I got married, she was like, okay, he's home. So it was, you kind of live that vagabond life for a while, and it's everything you own. You got it was just different. It's not what people think. It was. I'm lucky. I stayed married. Most of the guys I know who stayed in that world, they all got divorced.
Yeah,
just literally.
What made you want to get out after the 10 years?
You know, the Cold War ended there. The wall came down.
Yeah.
And Moynihan and all those guys saying we're going to cut all this stuff. And my wife's from a family of 8. I'm from a family of 7. You know, Chicago was still pulling. We'd come back for weddings. You know, my brothers were all having kids, sisters, and it became all right. This. She was like, if we're going to have kids, I'm not going to do this. So we just pulled up and then went back to Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it kind of what people think of though? Like was like no contact with the outside world when you're on that submarine?
Yeah, nothing. I would leave and there was nothing.
No one.
Yeah.
Were you ever scared at different, like, were you ever felt?
I was always scared.
Okay.
I was like, where's the sun? This is horrible.
Yeah.
But no, the guys are there. You got a lot to do. You were actually real busy.
Okay.
And then the day I got out, so I was going to interview. There was a black site near ours that you could work at, contracting, and they were interviewing a couple of us. And my one friend, Mike, way smarter than me, he was going through the interview process, and they asked him if he could type, and he said no. And I went to my interview and they asked me if I could type, and I said, yeah, I could type. I had no idea how to type. I just figured, fake it till
How
you
hard
make
can it be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about my last 3 months working, I found a typewriter. I sat and just cranked out some typing on my own. Then I didn't have to type that much anyway, but I was just, that's how we grew up. Just, yeah, I could type.
Figure it out.
Ask me. Yeah. And then
yeah.
let me in first and I'll figure it out. He's way smarter than me. I still jag him to this day.
Yeah.
He said, no, I can't type, you know, so helps to be dumb.
Yeah. Man. So is it like, this might be a dumb question, but when you're in the Navy, is there a point where they're like, hey, you're part of the CIA now? Or how does that?
Well, at this command, it was real high end. It was called Special Projects. Guys didn't know what you did. Guys, you would talk to guys in the fleet, they never heard of it. So it was a really well kept secret.
Okay.
It really was, yeah. And then, like the deputy director would come down to workplace and stuff like that. And then the black site we worked at, you knew they were coming. And so as a young man in that environment, there were awesome guys doing really manly stuff, and then there were, I think it's underappreciated, the super tech guys too that are just as badass. These guys will crunch down and get in on stuff, and because you could be out at places and there's nowhere to go get any supplies or anything, and they were there. I was always amazed everywhere I looked. I just knew I was hanging on just to be there, and
so. Yeah. And that kind of brings me to kind of what Ed was saying. So like you join the Navy, and then it's like, is there a transition where it's like you're technically like your checks are coming from a different department?
Nope, they'll come through there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're always still technically.
So there were contractors there, and your fleet active. They'll call you. Your checks come through there.
Okay.
And, the guys are getting paid. Wherever, but and then when I got out, I was at an event, like one of the job titles they give you, I was in ocean engineering. They just said that's the thing. Who knows anything about ocean engineering? And we were at a wedding once.
How do you engineer an ocean?
Yeah, right. It's wet.
Yeah.
And we were at a wedding once, and it's, one in a million. I was standing next to this lady, and we're small talking. And what do you do? And I says, oh, I'm in ocean engineering. She goes, oh my God, that was my degree out of, So I just said, oh wait, I'm I went quick and got a beer. I was like, I have no idea what to talk to this lady about. And then I was a technical writer. That was what they call it. That was kind of a more ubiquitous spread around. Yeah. You could use that one. Yeah. So so then it became where you would come home and you cross that threshold where you want to tell someone you're doing this, not what you're doing, but you got the highest clearance they have. It was 80-year clearance. Other guys I'll meet will be out. Mine's 7 years. You could talk after that. I don't know. Mine was 80 years. I don't know what to tell you. But you would want to say stuff, and then you cross the threshold where you just don't.
Yeah.
And then it becomes,
where you don't want to say stuff?
Then it becomes a thing where you don't know that I did that or whatever. And so, but friends would come to town, or we'd go to DC for a retirement party. I remember one time we went to DC and for a retirement party, and it was at the Pentagon, and the wife and I were in a bar, and CNN was there, had been filming it, and we didn't say anything. And the guy's like, he was from Illinois. It was a food delegation with the FDA or something. So we're just shooting the breeze, and he turns on the news. We're looking at the ceremony on the news, and then you could see my wife Eileen right in the background. The guy's staring. He goes, "Hey, that's you!" right on the news. So it was pretty funny. So I always enjoyed that. I taught for my second career after that. I taught. And you got a quote from the guy on there. Yeah. So
whose retirement was that at?
Bob Gates's, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, when he was Secretary of Defense. So very lucky. He gave me a nice quote. You catch him in a good mood. He's
yeah. Well, what was he like?
Right here it says, Bob Gates, Jim Gorman cannot and will not talk about what he did. But take it from me, his credentials from talking about courage and calculated risks are unparalleled.
Wow.
That was very nice of him. You catch him in a good mood, a couple drinks, he'll do that.
He was a long-standing, because he was Bush and Obama.
Hands down, the most high-integrity, smartest person I ever met.
Really?
Hands down. And a very soft-spoken, not bravado, beat your chest. He knew how the system worked. He was the neatest guy I ever met. Hands down. He walked into a room as a little guy, and you knew he was there. People were like, just very soft-spoken. I got a picture in my office somewhere at home that Putin was sitting right next to him at some meeting. And you see Putin looking over at him like he wanted him dead. He just did. And Bob Gates, very chill, writing something in his book, you couldn't ruffle that guy. He was just the neatest guy. He knew the system. He knew how it worked.
Yeah.
Very self-deprecating. I mean, he was...
and did you work closely with him?
Yeah, how much time did you spend?
He was around. I mean, he knew where we were, and he came by a couple places, and then I had a chance to drive him once for an event in Washington, this event. If some of the guys try to get together and you work in some of these programs, they split it so you can't, like, if some of us guys want to get together, you can't kind of cross-pollinate. They don't want you to do that.
Okay.
So
you can never put the full puzzle together.
You can on your own, go somewhere or whatever, but this was a kind of a formal event. And so they were looking to get some muscle and stuff. We got a couple people step in and help to get guys to be able to come there. So there's big security. You had to have these badges made. It was to get together. It's hard to do. So we don't do them that often, these big ones. Tom Clancy showed up at one.
Really?
He did. He showed up. Very nice. He was looking to come to pump guys out. So it was very fortunate. Nobody stepped in. Nobody fell up more than me. You couldn't have made it up.
Did you? So you said you had this 80-year. It's like a gag order, is basically what you're saying, right? You can't talk about anything from that time period.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like called back to do anything? Like, do you like any contract work since you've been out, or?
No, you'll brush stuff. There was a contractor out of Georgia, knew a guy, whatever. They flew me in this
like a consultant,
this team guy down there,
okay.
Dev Group guy, and just kind of look. I think they were looking more for who I knew. I think they were trying to leverage to get stuff. So what happens is when you know some guys that move up pretty high, if they sniff around that you're gonna leverage your friendship with them, you're not. So I would never do that. I would never put them in that position. So I went down there. It was nice. They flew us down there. It was a beautiful sight. It was, they got everything. They had a lot of money, but they were looking to get, after Benghazi, the State Department was trying to get some contracts, because they were trying to stand up their own QRF force.
Yeah.
And so there were these sites popping up that wanted to get some of that contract, and some guy knew a guy, one of those. Mm-hmm. I had nothing tangible to offer them, but they knew they were probably leveraging me to get to some other guys, and I didn't want to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's like, the CIA and intelligence in general has kind of become like the boogeyman. God, So
and I'm the least anti-conspiracy guy out there.
Okay.
I'm the least. I'm 99% of them. So human nature, we're naturally idiots, I think. So I'm the least conspiracy guy.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The people I met and worked with were super high integrity. And when like the fleet and our military and stuff, it isn't until you go around other places and see. I was in Georgia at a base down there, and the African soldiers were coming up. They're smaller. They're one of our public high schools in our area would be their town hall forever. They would think this is the greatest building ever, and it's just a high school in a suburb here. So what we put into it and the training, people like, it's hard. You forget things. When Putin pulled his carrier over to Syria 10 years ago, when that started jumping off.
Yeah.
If you remember, he flew planes for about a week, had a fire on there, had to lock all the planes down and came back because they're, you realize, Chicago, our country, there's corruption, but we're in the minor leagues compared to. I know in the Russian military, when you would go to get promoted, it was how much money you sent back to your politicians. That's literally how you got your career. So that's why you see these things pull off up there. The level of corruption, I think, if you live here in the bubble and you never left, you have no idea what's out there. You really don't. And so the level of that, that when you come back, you realize that people complain here about everything, right? And it's like it falls on deaf ears. But if that's all they know, that's all they know. It could be better in this utopian. It usually go down the road where it doesn't end well. When they go down the road, take off the rules. So
but it's like even that, like, speaking of like the Russia thing, like the Nord Stream pipeline, where that seemed like it's like everybody's pointing their finger.
Yeah.
And and it's just like, I don't know. It just seems like that seemed like something that wouldn't, like, logically, that seems like maybe some kind of submarine would go and do something like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
I think that was hands down Russia. I would never.
really?
Hands down.
Okay.
Hands down.
Interesting.
And like they would say, I knew the guy, had met him. He told a great story about it, Milt Bearden. He was a big chief with the agency, and he gave the PDBs, the Presidential PDBs. The way he explained it one time was just nailed it. The presidents come into the room, and they got elected, and everything's hoping the world is great, and they usually went to law school. So they sat around where it's, Chief, he robbed a bank, but on his way home, he wouldn't run over a kid, stop and get drunk, and choke a hooker, because it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They sit in these cafeteria type rooms where they don't realize the only other way that those rulers are in most of these countries are there is because they killed more people than the guy under.
Yeah.
Putin's a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
Could care less. I mean, you guys know that. And so for us to go into it rosy, he said you always had to meet them and their worldview had to, and it took them a while to absorb that, because they're like, well, people are nice. I went to law school. Look at all these years I did this. People talk to me nice, and there's reason and logic. You can work it out. That's not the rules of the road
International.
anywhere else. Yeah. So,
Do you smoke cigars? Have you ever gotten a box from anyone important?
how did you get that? There was one time we came back from a deployment, and I was you're offloading weapons and all this shit. And it takes a week, and stuff comes back, and I was with this guy, and there's goods coming back and forth, and he had a box of cigars, and he's like, hey, look at this. He opened it up. It was signed by President Reagan, So I was like, of course, we got to take a cigar. And he's like, we can't take a cigar. I said, no, I grabbed one whole, and he goes, look, you could tell it came out. I go, no, you got to take that whole top row then. He still yells, no, put it back in there. You can't do it. But Reagan sent one of my captains, he sent him a box of cigars. I mean, it was very nice of him, but the guy, that's how I view it. I got to have one of these cigars.
Yeah, it's from Reagan.
Yeah.
It was very nice of them. They were very fortunate. Like I said, nobody got luckier than me. Everywhere I went, I met great guys.
Quite the career.
Just great guys. The people I met were way more impressive. I was always like,
I don't know. Bob Gates says,
remember, I'm the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah.
That's that's
So
pretty awesome quote.
Yeah.
It was great of him. He'll do anything for you. The guy is, I was Prince, glad to get to know him. Matter of fact, his birthday's up here soon, I think next week. Shout out. But as good as they get. He was, I met so many people that just were patient. What the Navy was good at when I was there, they were great at going to where you were at and schooling you up, on anything. I remember the first training I went, some guy gave it on this Joe from New York, this guy, and Joe Post, and it was on binoculars. I was like, total new guy there, 2 days, whatever, week, how this retina different, they see this one's different. You had this binoculars, it was pre-internet. He went way down a rabbit hole on binoculars. I wouldn't even know where you got that direction. That was my first one that I thought, holy cow, these guys are smart. I would have been like, there's binoculars, you look through.
Stick them on your face.
He really, and I was just like, man, wait a minute. These guys are way out there and super smart. And I was, it was a great experience. You can't quantify it. Super lucky.
So you said initially like it was hard not to tell people, and then you get to a point where you don't want to tell anyone. Do you ever get to a point where you have to call maybe those guys who you went through this stuff with, because they're the only ones you could talk stuff about?
If we go to talk to them too.
Well, we'll go like if we travel, I'll sit and talk with guys. We go have our beers. And just different views. I was retired guys now, and I was with this guy Joe. He was a Team 6 guy, that guy. And we're sitting out over a fire, having a beer. I'm telling him about this and that, and he's telling me, and he just had, he just looked at me. He goes, because you guys try to talk to him and steal all their stuff. He goes, now I'm here, and we have to kill him. So I want to kill him and go home. So it's funny how your world's kind of smashed sometimes, and
Was there ever like a cultural difference between like the tier 1 guys and a person in your role, or is it like we're all on the same team?
You know, once you kind of pass a sniff test with some of them guys, I was fine.
Yeah.
They knew I'm non-threatening. What am I going to throw ninja stars? I'm not going to do that. I knew my lane.
Okay.
You know, I knew my lane. So, but just knowing those guys and, you know, vacation with them, it's not, I don't know. It's just super lucky. They worked really hard to get to where they did. That was my always joke. And all I did was kept raising my hand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they had to do all their stuff. All I did was fit through a little window that opened and raise my, I was dumb enough to keep saying, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or other guys smart enough might have thought, well, wait a minute, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to do it. And so that was probably to my advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there anything as far as like the ocean goes that might not be classified that you were like wowed you while you were down there?
The whole environment, you know, as you go down doing stuff, it'll, they would tie a string across like the torpedo room or something. And then as you went, it would shrink and that line would drop, you know, and that HY80, it's super heavy, a little piece that big.
So like the pressure?
Yeah.
Really?
And you'll hear it. It'll snap. And then,
that would freak me out, I think.
Oh yeah. There's a million reasons why you would, but you're so busy that it'll help. But there's a million reasons why you're like, this is not going well.
How do you even have a concept of time when you're down there?
You know, when I was there, it was an 18-hour day. So you work 6 hours, you're off 12, but of those 12, you're working another 6 to 7 solid on your stuff, and then so then you got, you know, your first year you're sleeping 3 hours a day if you can, but it's an 18-hour day. Then everything shifts to Zulu time. They switch everything to clocks in England, so everyone could get on the same page.
Okay.
And but your circadian rhythm, all that just gets thrown off.
Yeah.
And you just become an 18-hour day guy. And then what happens is when you're gone a long time, your vision changes where you can only see as far as your longest room, about 30 feet. That was as far as something was open. Yeah, you were gone that long, about 100 days. It'll happen. So when we came back, it was blurry past that. You couldn't drive. You had to have your wife's or somebody drive you because, your vision was off for...
Does it come back?
It does. It took a couple days.
Okay.
But your sense of smell, your sight, your hearing. We went out right when you come back. You want to eat something, and a female voice. You'd be like, man, right away you hear it, and your skin, you're a little pasty. You're a little.
Imagine. Yeah.
What's the longest you were down there at one time?
I was about 100 days. 98 days. Yeah.
So is it like the old Billy Madison, like, what day is it today? I don't know, October?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You're just looking. They literally run it, quite ironically, like a prison schedule in the sense the food there was amazing.
Really?
Because that's the one thing they studied and found that to keep your morale up, a good meal will do that. So you woke up and you just kind of stood in line. What meal is this? You had no idea. Lunch, dinner, breakfast. You had to have someone tell you.
Wow.
You had no idea. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So I mean, it was great. It was super interesting for a guy like me with ADD. There was all kinds of buttons you could touch and push things, and guys working on shit, and big guys doing really impressive stuff. And then you walk around and there's a technician on the side just fixing something that he's boring down on it. No, this oscillator is fixing up wrong here on this megahertz. It's kicking. It shouldn't do that. And he's boring down on this thing. And just the comms guys, it was everywhere I went, I was like, damn, there was so much to learn. I started a nuclear reactor. I was back. The weapons, the comms, they let you do everything. Once you're there, you could go everywhere. Yeah, so it was nice.
Anything unexplained about the ocean? I don't know. I'm just fascinated by the ocean. There's so many. It's like the least explored.
Yeah, what they would do. Well, now all the drones are. That's the new big, drones underwater. That's the thing. So what they would do is
drones underwater.
Yeah, they're working on underwater stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's the next frontier. So what they would do is if you got out on the sea, and that's why the submarines were so deadly. Like in World War II, they were only 2% of the fleet or whatever, and they counted for over 50-something%.
Yeah.
There, you got out, and there's a thermal layer, they call it, where that cold water and the warm water meet, and the sonar and stuff that they would pound down, it would bounce off of that. It wouldn't penetrate it. The water gets too dense. So once you got under the thermal layer and you knew where that was,
your stealth,
you were golden. Yeah, you couldn't hear you. But now with the new technology and stuff, that that's their next generation hurdle that they're going to have to.
Yeah.
But you saw Trump step in. He wants to build 2 a year now, which is great. Those are they're a super deadly feature, you know.
Yeah.
Because what it is it's like all the state secrets kind of crammed into
One
a
product.
pipe. Yeah, you got your communications, your satellite stuff, your weaponry, your nuclear stuff, your crypto.
Yeah.
It's just all right there.
How long does it take to get something like that done? Like to get like the new like
It's about 4 years.
4
now.
years. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's the latest I heard.
Yeah.
We only have a couple places that can do it.
And
So.
do you know like what the budget is for something like that, or is it
think-
just unlimited, just whatever you need?
Oh yeah, I think they're up in the billions. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know. I'd have to research
Okay.
that, but it's a ridiculous amount of money. But thank God they do it right.
Yeah.
We do it because once you're out on them, you're like, man, some smart guys put this thing together,
Yeah.
and I'm glad they did because
Yeah.
you got a kettle, a nuclear reactor,
Mm-hmm.
you got weapons 50, 80 feet from it. I slept, 50 feet from the nuclear reactor and the weapons in it.
And there's no like, that's like another thing, because like nuclear energy is like a thing people talk about as like, oh, we should use more of this.
Absolutely.
People are scared of it, but then you
Right.
lived your life on it with no,
Yeah.
like no, there's no health,
None.
any radiation
Yeah.
issues down there, right?
Absolutely. I remember they give you this TLD to wear on your belt, and when you
What-
turn
I don't
it
know
in,
what that is.
it's like a thermal. It'll catch the gamma rays. The alpha
Okay.
and beta will bounce off and stuff. The gamma will go right through you, and then it's like a picture black thing, and they put it on this thing and read it. You can see holes in it, and you're like, well, that was, and you're thinking, that went through me. He goes, yeah, but if you sat on a beach for a weekend, you'd have 3 times as much as this. So
Okay.
we know how to do nukes.
Yeah.
We do. Super
Yeah.
safe. And the people, the media gets a hold of that and don't. You see, now it's turning, though.
Yeah.
That's
It does
the
seem like
safest,
there's-
cleanest way.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, I'd love to see us go to that. I'm not an energy guy, but
But you lived it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Navy's been running them for years.
Right.
Never had a problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we know what we're doing. They just, it's the political stuff. Sounds like you got to
Right.
get over before
Yeah.
the factual doing it, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah.
Yeah.
But
What about Whitehorse? When you were on deployment from the bar, someone called you.
the what?
The drinking after deployment. Some guy from Whitehorse.
Oh, yeah. The,
White House. Sorry,
we came back and a guy got a little,
thought that was the name of a bar.
yeah. The guy went long. We used to have a bar we'd go to that you could buy for $100 an hour. There's 10, 12, didn't matter. You give him $100, the bartender would just leave, and you had it for an hour. So it was awesome. And
It's like
One guy went a
It's
little
like
long.
a round of drinks. These
yeah,
days.
right,
Yeah.
right. And one guy went along. I wasn't there for this, but this was what happened. And there was a phone outside of it, and he got on it. And I don't know how he did it, but he ended up trying to call the White House and or the Pentagon. I've heard both, but this savvy lady on the other line, super cool. She just kept talking to him. Oh yeah, he's like, we just got back. It was awesome. We did this stuff. You should know, or whatever. And she kept talking to him like, oh, great, how'd it go, yada, yada. And then black SUV pulled right in front
Pull
of him.
up.
They come on in here. They pulled him in there. Yeah, he got taken away. Back then, they knew he was doing stuff. He probably got in trouble, clean stuff for a couple of weeks. That was it. If you did it today, it'd be national news or something probably. But yeah, they
Spreads quick.
they were hovering around and they
Yeah.
came by and lifted him. Yeah.
Crazy.
But so I mean, yeah. Then we left. We transitioned. I came home. I got into Chicago Public Schools and started there. My wife was a teacher, and I came back. I started at the Board of Trade. I was at the Merc for a little while, standing down there, and you're nut to butt standing with everybody like this, quoting. And I was down there almost 2 years, and I just thought great opportunities. Some guys did well down there. They did, and I just didn't see myself standing there for 20 years doing that. I just didn't feel it.
Was it a difficult transition into like a civilian life? Like, did you miss it? Did you?
Do you know? I got to tell you, for standing on the floor at the Merc, kind of helped in the sense that it was awesome. It was some days it was really slow, but some days it was rocking, and you had to be on. I remember. Then I got you worked for a firm first. Then I got what you want to do is get picked up by a local. That's a guy who's trading his own money, and then eventually they'll back you, and you can get in and trade. So I was working for a local, and what they did in the Euros is I'm on the front month buying or selling. He's on the back month doing the opposite. So then he hedges his bet. So if the market goes up,
Yeah.
I'll get rid of bad ones. He'll keep his. You catch and he'll make the difference. So long story short, I'm filling his order, and I said, he's looking at me, did I do it? And I told him 2 times, I thought. So I said, yeah, you're full. I put your hand that way. He had a 200 lot. Well, this means he sold it this way. He bought it. I bought him through my broker, but I went that way with him because I was looking at my numbers, counting them. I go, you're full. You got it. And I'll never forget, I was filling my numbers, and I looked up, and there's 700 people between me and him. And there's just like a tornado. He's coming straight through that crowd, man. I was just like, oh, no.
What'd I do?
He came right over. This guy grabbed me by the tie, pulled me down. Did I buy or sell it? I was like, you bought them. And he goes, you didn't tell me that, you stupid. But I still remember in slow motion, he's just coming at me. There was nothing I could do, man. So, they were great. They had a good round down there. That Euro pit was packed, man. There was a lot of guys. It was a good atmosphere. A lot of guys, some guys busted out, but it was real neat atmosphere to be exposed to. Yeah.
And what'd you do in CPS?
Then I was a high school history teacher. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went into that, and then I did that for 10 years. Then what I did was I was at a couple different schools. I ended up in the back of the yards, 47th right off Ashland, and ironically, I was doing my family genealogy one time, and right across the street from my classroom was where my family came and worked in the stockyards down there.
Oh, really?
12 kids in the house, all of them worked laborers in the stockyards. I was literally right there. But the kids in English was a second language for them.
Okay.
There was a lot of newcomers, and my wife had a program when she was teaching where she had the kids read books on animals or plants or whatever. So I took her thing, and I took my history program, and I said, if we're covering the Depression or World War II or whatever, and I would go to the English teacher seminars, and I said, we got a book on a Chinese immigrant who came here in the 30s or 40s. And I said, I could use that for immigration. And then there was another book on the Korean Peninsula, Japan invaded Korea. Mm-hmm. A girl was going to school there when they transferred. And they would get them around 6th, 7th, 8th grade reading level so that the kids could do well. So then what I did is over some time, if you had my history class, you would read 7, 8, 9 books a semester. And I would just literal quizzes. It was like, if Chief got stepped out of the car and he broke his leg, I would say, what happened to him? So if you read it, you couldn't miss it.
Yeah.
If you didn't, you would miss it. So then I just got them reading. That was the hardest part, to get them to do that. Mm-hmm. But once they got on board with it, I'd get 10 quizzes, equal test, then I'd give you the test on the big stuff we were covering. I really enjoyed it. And then my last year there, I took the fire test, though. I was waiting for the paperwork, teaching. And then my last year, I actually was assistant principal. I got picked for that at the school. And we had 2 buildings. It's the old St. Joe's, 51st and Wood. Okay. And they had a branch at 47th Street, right off Ashland. And I ran the other one with the older kids, because the backyard had a freshman, sophomore academy. It had a real high dropout rate. Mm-hmm. Because the kids wouldn't go through 3, 4 neighborhoods to get to Kelly, different gangs, and they wouldn't go to Tilden. Yeah. So I was walking to the other building one day, and there was an issue there, and the principal was out, and there was this big kid who had a problem, special ed kid. He was heavy, like a lot of issues. And so I turned to look at the teacher, and said, "Hey, what's up with this kid? What do I got to know?" And this kid stepped back, and he swung and hit me right in the nuts. Did not miss, no knee bump. Oh. I went down like a sack of potatoes. That was my first week as being assistant principal. Yeah. And this other assistant principal who ran that, Tony, great guy, Tony President, he whacked me on the back as he came around the corner. Hey, welcome to the job, and just walked away. It was one of those. This kid nailed me, man. Just crushed me. And that was my first week. And then I did a year of that. Then as I was doing that, I was processing for the fire department, and I thought, if it comes. Now I caught that window, another super lucky break, where the age requirement wasn't there. It was an old contract. Right now, it's 36, I think it is. I went into the academy, I turned 40.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. It's way harder at 40 than it is when you're 20, man.
Sure, yeah.
Bottles of Aleve, freaking all my joints, all the stupid shit I did. So, but they called me, and I asked, half Southside has firemen and cops, and I asked a bunch of Southsiders, I had to ask 40 of them, do you think I should get on? And every single one of them didn't even hesitate. They said, take it, you'll never regret it. And they were right. I got super lucky. I fit that window. There was that's gone now. You can't. You tell people you got on 40, they're like, how the hell did you do that? There was some contract slag. There was only a 4, 5, 6 year where some of us got on there, and I got that. I caught that. So I did 21 years with them. Yeah.
What was the first day like?
First day was my wife wasn't very happy. So so after all my other job in CPS, I finished the academy. I get signed Truck 11. There's the LaSalle bank fire. Now, previous to that, there was the county building. They had that fire where they lost those 6 people. So this was shortly after that. So they developing these high-rise procedures, these chiefs that really knew what they were doing. They were figuring all that out, and we got sent down there, and it was, I remember looking up, it was on the 30th floor, and it was blowing out the windows, and there was glass falling. I just kept thinking, I was so new that I was thinking, man, I hope somebody gets that out before I get up there, because I'm not going to be much help. This is way up there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, and anyhow, long story short, we ended up getting up there, and I was in a stairwell, and we had to go look, because the people got killed in the last fire. They went up the stairwell, and it was locked to get up somewhere. So they have an escape stairwell and a evacuation one, and then one for us. And that policy was being worked out, but people would just run up the stairs. They just wouldn't listen. So we had to go, and it was hot. It was dark, and the heat was building up there. Anyhow, I ran out of oxygen. Long story, and I didn't know where I was. I remember walking around and thinking. The fire I was above it for a little bit, and the fire was catching these drapes and stuff, and I remember thinking, literally, I was this new. I thought, man, somebody should do something about that, because that's going to catch fire up here. That was my first thought. I was like, as I'm standing there with my pike bowl.
Yeah.
But, and then I ran out of oxygen in the stairwell, and so the first thing you do is take your mask off. And so you take in the heated gas, but a guy fell. We were helping him, twisted his knee or whatever, and so we found a door. It took a while to find a door to get out of there, because you lose all your bearings. You have no idea which wall to hit. So we stumbled out, and then we made it down to the lobby. And as we got down there, the building, those big ones in the lobbies, they have banks, shops, delis, all those glass. It's all glass. Well, as everyone saw me, they're like, you got to go over there by the medics. You got to go. But I felt fine. And I just said, I need some water. My throat, I just need some water. And then as every chief looked at you, they're like, you got to go that way. So I sat down, and the lights were out, and there was a glass near for the store to my right. And I remember looking in there, and your face was just all black. It was so, but I didn't know. And then, ironically, Herbie Johnson, the kid we met here, he passed away 6 years later. Turns out what happens is your esophagus and all that's a soft tissue. And when it gets damaged, it just swells. And it's like a bruise to it, but it just swells shut. And if they don't intubate you, get something in there, that's it. They can't cut you in it. You're going to pass away. And so all I kept saying was, I just need some water. My throat, it was raw. And so by the time I got there, they're ripping your clothes off. And the last thing I remember at the hospital, this young doctor, God bless him, he's scoping me out, whatever, and he goes, hey, I'm going to intubate you before you die. And so it was like everything gets the pucker factor, you're like,
wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah. So then 3 days later, they pulled me out of it. And then when that doctor came up, it took me a while. You throw up a bit, you're going through some stuff. And then the doctor came up, and I said, man, I love your work, but you got to change your approach, man. You can't just drop that on a guy. You got to be a little more diplomatic.
A little bedside manner.
Yeah, a little bedside manner. Yeah. So that was my first day,
But you kind of needed it. You just thought you needed water. You needed,
right.
You needed to know how serious
yeah.
it was.
Then Herbie Johnson at a fire, he gets exposed. Some gases blow his way. His last words in the ambulance was, hey, I feel fine. Just give me some water.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And it killed him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that the most common?
He was a legend on the job too. Herbie was, you don't, it's a soft muscle. So you just feel you need water. And, it's not like a burn on your arm where you got it. It's just, no, I'm just raw. Just give me some water. And that was the last thing he said. And they gave him water because you don't think it's that bad.
Right.
And, it wasn't a mistake. I mean, I don't mean it that way. He just, it was a tragic sequence of events. Yeah. He was a legend on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you learn, you learn real quick to appreciate the heat and the smoke. It doesn't hold back. Yeah.
I'd never heard that before, that's really what gets you. Is your esophagus?
Yeah, yeah, it just shuts up and they can't cut it or anything. You're just closed up, nothing they can do. Yeah, so.
And that was your first day. Like, were you still a candidate? Or
I am candidate 101. Wow. It was right around dinner time. So I literally am just finding my way about the firehouse. And then the family and the guys are so funny. They're so sentimental. Just give me a minute. So I'm out and I wake up and you're laying there like, where am I? I'm trying to figure out. Big sign above me on the ceiling. It said, Big Fire's 1, Jim 0. So, and then all my toenails were painted different colors. Yeah. Everybody's joking. It's not funny though. I should reprimand them. Yeah. So they had their fun. Yeah. Then I came to the firehouse and said, Jim Gorman slept here like George Washington or something. Or Jim Gorman almost slept in his bed. Yeah. So everybody's a joker. But they were great to me. My firehouse was great guys. Marty Chapman, Gino Martinez, Captain Lewis, just Ron Hall. I just had a great character of guys.
Was that first fire the worst fire you're ever in?
No. Unfortunately, there was a Pilgrim Baptist Church fire. I was at that one. We got the roof fell in us on that one. That was where Marty almost bought it. There's a video of him just getting out of a window and it just blew up behind literally 2 seconds after he stepped on the ladder. He was on the other side of the building from me, and when it fell in, I thought he was dead because I could see him. We were up about 40 feet, and you could see down into the church. They had a big rafter up there, a big seating area for singing, and the whole front of the church came in. The guy in front of me was a bigger guy. He played at Michigan. He was a lineman, and the last thing, we didn't have our masks on yet, and the smoke was way above us, and then all of a sudden, that came in, and the noise, I thought it was a train or something at first. It was so loud. Wow. And then you see timbers and smoke, and then he turned around and his eyes were big. He just said, run. But you couldn't run because it was a little railway. There was phone books up there. You can imagine a church, there's that balcony part where the seats are. Well, they didn't use it. So they just stored shit up there. And so you had to hold the rail, and if you went over, you were going down 40 feet or so. You were going to die. So you had to take your time, and then we got to the stairs. And we just went, you're running at this point because the roof's coming in. And we went head over ass and down the stairs a couple of times, actually, And then when we got down, he fell near me and I was on my back. And this guy, Pat McCauley, he was on the squad. And I just opened the back door to it before I went in there I don't know why, but everything was black. Then when I fell, all I could see was about an inch. Where I opened that door before I went up there. It was the first shim I used. I remember I took it out of my helmet. I said, I'll put this here in this door. And I fell and I could see a little bit of light, so I knew and then a pair of boots came in. I could see him and he tripped on me, this guy, and he grabbed me and they pulled me out. And then I got out of there. I felt fine. And then I sat on the bumper of the engine and it was cold out that day. So I was sweating, so I took my coat off. And then our truck caught on fire. The debris started falling out, and it actually caught our truck on fire, stuff in the bed. Then across the street, it blew out a bunch of windows on the building all at one time. It got that hot, like 15, just blew up. So we had to move, but I couldn't get up. My back locked up. It got cold and everything, and I blew a disc and had some back issues. I couldn't get off the ambulance, so I was like, I can't stand up. And they tried to pull me up, so I had to go. So my wife, had to get that phone call second time. And the guy who called her was the guy who called her the first time, saying, we had a really big fire. We're probably not going to have this again. And then a year and a half, whatever it was later, I get jammed up in that one. He calls her again. He says, all right, this is it, though. This is not going to happen anymore.
It's not going to strike three.
Yeah,
I didn't get strike 3 times. Yeah.
So
that was only a year and a half later?
It was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, the video's pretty crazy. I don't know. It's on YouTube somewhere. I wouldn't know how to find it. But Marty steps out of his window, and the whole thing just goes red behind him, man. He was seconds away from being just...
Wow.
Incinerated. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but what a job. You can't beat that job. It's a group of guys that when it comes together, there's no psych tests, first off, for these guys. So a lot of them are clinically insane. Just great guys, but out of their minds. And when it comes together and guys get on a roof and they open it and the pipe guys come in and they do their things, their force entry, and it's amazing to watch the whole thing come together. It really is. Yeah. It's a lot more to it than people think. So then to be able to get to work with guys that were really, like some of them wouldn't be able to work in any other work environment.
Yeah.
Because they're clinically insane. But you got them on our job, and they got into everything. They got into the tools. They got into the job. They really, a guy can excel in there. You could see him flourish.
Mm-hmm. Was there any like trait overlap between some of those tier 1 guys that you worked with and the firehouse guys?
Surprisingly, I totally underestimated the family vibe that the fire department and police have. Totally did not see that. When I got hurt, the neighborhood rallies, firemen come by, they're dropping food off, they're checking on my wife and kids. The camaraderie when someone needs work done at their house, 10 guys will show up. Promotions, guys show up. If you get suspended for something stupid, they'll rally for you and have a party to cover your check that month. Wow. I'm continually amazed by that. That culture is if you can get that in the workplace, you struck gold. I mean, I was lucky enough to have that through quite my years of working. I was really lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like
some of the quality people they have in the fire department are just gems of human beings, and they know how to handle emergency scenes. They don't get flustered. They know what they're doing. I had so many good chiefs, Mike Sullivan, and I could go on and on. But the Hoffs, McKees, there's too many of them to talk about. But the qualities people as humans in any job they would do, they would be guys that they would be very, very good at it and regarded that way. Yeah, super lucky. Yep.
Wow.
Man, so 10 doing, 10 in the Navy, 10 at CPS, and then 21 on the Chicago Fire Department.
I did, yeah.
And then one with the Carpenters too.
Yeah.
Right, can't forget that.
Yeah.
Right.
Hammer and nails, yeah.
Yep. And then
and that semester at St. Ambrose.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
don't forget that. Yeah,
I'm starting, me and some buddies who got kicked out of there, we're starting our Underachievers Hall of Fame. We haven't started yet.
Yeah.
We haven't had a meeting yet.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible,
But
man.
they were good to me, super lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, and the South Side, my nephew Danny Golden was one. He got shot a couple of years ago in an event. Just as you get older and you get bitter enough, like the world kicking you down, we came out of the hospital. I was the car behind him, driving home. They blocked the highway. We drove through Bridgeport a bit, and then they went down 103rd and started heading west. Went through Beverly. There was people out across Western Avenue. There was more people. They were on the curbs. Then you got closer to California, Kedzie, and then they started to move in from the curbs. And by the time you got past Kedzie a bit, it was 10, 12 deep.
Yeah.
To take this kid home after his tragedy, and you just think, man, these people just get it. They rally. Yeah. North Side has it too. South Side, they know trouble when they see it. And know guys that give, that care, and they.
Well, it's a special thing. I wish there was more of it.
I tell you, they will. It's a booster shot, and then to go to the Hopkins event down there every summer. Come on, their dad dies of cancer. It could have turned into, my dad passed like everyone. Instead, they turned this into this marquee South Side event that is ridiculous. How, what they do with all
everybody comes out. Everybody comes out for Papa Hops,
isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a great crew. The people are nice. Nobody bothers anyone.
Guys, yeah.
They run a great program. So I mean, just then a lot of the veterans and the people in the neighborhood, they just want to give back and help. So I mean, to see that, it's amazing. Yeah, pretty lucky.
To go back to your time in the Navy, there's a book called Blindman's Bluff.
There was, yeah, that was the first one. When we were in, I remember we had a briefing once that they came out with the book by Woodward, Vail, Secret Exploits of the CIA. That was the first one that came out, and we were working. And I remember that they said, okay, this book's coming out. It's Woodward, same guy that did All the President's Men, right? Mm-hmm. And
he's done a bunch.
And we were so busy that it was probably 2 years later. I was walking by a bookstore. I saw it. I didn't even get it, and then I didn't read it for another couple years after that. And I was like, we were still go doing stuff, and that book was out, and it had quite a bit in it. And then it got real again. Like we went to work one day. You don't know what's going on all internationally, other guys. And there was a guy with the agency. His name was Alder James, and he's in prison now. He's locked up. And we didn't know, but you came into work and you could work on your classified stuff, and keep it in your files, your lockers and stuff at work. And all of a sudden, they're throwing guys on live boxes, 2-man rules to be in this room, 2-man that. You can't go by yourself. And this old chief I was standing next to, cigar smoking guy, Remar, great guy. I said, what is going on? What is all this? And he said, there's a spy out there. And they come and start at the workplace, kind of figuring it's not going to be someone from here. It usually isn't. It's usually someone that heard a piece of it from someone else, kind of thing. But we were working when he was turning over. I think they quantify about 11 agents got killed because of him specifically.
Really?
Yeah, he was turning over a lot of people. And he was in prison in Illinois for a little while. They move him every couple of years. He was downstate, I remember.
So who was he?
He was all agents that we had overseas.
Yeah.
He was with the agency, and he knew who our guys were over there, and he was turning them in. There's several books written on him. And
Really?
Yeah, Aldrich James was his name, but we were...
but he was an American...
He was an American, flipped for them.
Who's them?
The Russians.
The Russians. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is in the 80s then?
Yeah,
Or-
he was
okay.
doing it to protect himself. He thought he was going to get given. He thought one of those guys knew that he was flipping. So he then turned their names over to them and had them all whacked.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty hardcore. We didn't know that at the time. We just knew everything
Yeah.
changed one day at work. And it's only later as you kind of work your way around. I remember there was something on TV once I saw that there was a group of women that worked in the office, and they polled them as they're trying to figure out who it was. And I think virtually, like, say there was 10 of them, like 8 out of 10 of them said, if it's going to be one, I think it's going to be him. And they all picked him.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that something? I mean, so it's weird. That was a whole
Was that like intuition?
different
or-
end. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But we fell in his wheelhouse with some of the stuff that we were doing. So that kind of rocked everybody,
Yeah.
because then you go through all that and then you still got to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we say, guys who've gone somewhere, you made it back. So people like made it back, but you, you missed the pucker factor, pucker factor that's there because you would go to places and be there for extended periods of time. And the pucker factor, when you come back, you could say, yeah, it's easy, but when you're there, it's not.
It tensed up.
So, I mean, but they were great to me. I got exposure to some just great guys. It changed my worldview, and like anything. And then I was in my 40s, I kept raising my hand, and I went to fire department.
Yeah.
When everyone else said, sit on the bench, ride it here, you're fine. So, so I was fortunate, 3 healthy kids. My kids all joined. I didn't push it on them. I never did. But they were around enough guys. And Chicago's kind of a hub. If guys come here, speak or whatever business, they'll reach out. And there was a guy, we usually go drinking him for a 10-hour pour. And there was a guy we had over, a couple team guys, and this one guy, Mark, he got shot through the eye, and it went out the back of his head. It was a swish. And he's fine, but he's got a fake eye. It's amazing, miracle. Whew. And he's at the house, and we're all hungry and like, oh, whatever. And my wife's saying, yeah, I'll get stuff. And I walked in the kitchen to see where she's at, and she's just sitting there with her drink. And I said, hey, what's up? You need a hand? She goes, we're not bringing any food out until that man puts his eye back in his head. So your wife's kind of takes such a beating. She's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I'm not bringing food out there. Because, of course, he's taking out with the boys.
It's a bit,
walking around. Yeah. So, I mean, but your wife's, they take a beating too. And then even on the fire department, you're going
I'm sure.
a lot. They, every third day. So, I mean, they kind of run it. So as you get old enough, you realize that they pulled a lot of weight that kept everything working. And then the boys, my middle one Jack joined first. Mike, Eileen was going through some stuff with her cancer, and she said, go to school first. He went to Eastern. Mm-hmm. He got 2 years out of there, crushed it. That town, just forget about it. He had a great crew. They just had a ball. Jack graduated. The only smart thing he's ever said to me before he's getting out, he said, Dad, if you send me to college, I think you'd be wasting your money. I was like, well, I think I'll agree. Yeah. But he joined. He went to 101st Airborne, had a great run. He did a bump over there. My son Mike joined after. He was with the 10th Mountain. He was attached to the Scouts. Mm. They had a sniper team that he was attached to. He was all over. They all got to go everywhere. And then my little one, Matt, he joined, and they sent him 1 in a million. He got the 25th ID out of Hawaii. So he did his 4 years about in Hawaii. But we had 2 years where my son Jack was over there, and then my son Mike went over there. So there was 2 years where her and I, if anything happened or, they'd shut down the kid's phone. It was big, right after Jack got there, it was a giant explosion, I remember, right near where he was. And then you just wait. And then, so there's that. So there 2 years, we probably put on 20 pounds apiece then, you're just eating and drinking and getting after it. But So that was, as a parent, it was totally different. Driving my kids, they'd come home on leave before they went, and that ride to the airport, taking them where I know they're going to war, you kind of in the back of your head, you're like, I looked to them and I was like, you're going there because some other kid is going to be afraid and going to need you to be a smart ass, crack wise, and work hard and be there for it. This is where you need to be, where you're supposed to be. But inside, I was like, it'd be awesome if I got in an accident right now and he broke his hip and he didn't have to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just did. For me to go do stuff, it was way easier, right? But then to take your kids, that was a tough one as a dad, but it wasn't like college in the sense that when we dropped my older son Mike off at Eastern, she's in the car driving after we stopped at a pub grub, had a beer with him and his buddies. They're all Southsiders. They all went to Eastern. They're like caged lions looking out the window like, when are these people getting out of here?
Yeah.
So we get in the car, we're driving home. She's crying in the front seat. And I'm like, give me the phone. 20 minutes after we leave, he's ass deep in a party. You can't even hear him. What? He's already crushing it. I'm like, see, he's fine.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's what they do. You know what I mean? So,
She misses them.
Yeah. Right. But she didn't miss cleaning up the beer from all the basement parties, So,
For sure.
yeah, I got lucky. And then 20% of the classes in Chicago got to get on the fire department are veterans.
Really?
So they had a point for living in the city. We still did. And then they all got on. I got all of them on. I mean, it's
great.
Couldn't got luckier.
Yeah.
Right. You couldn't have got luckier. So, I mean, I just, everywhere I turned, I ran into great guys. I super fortunate teaching career, great principal. She was amazing. Sandy Trebeck, a real progressive lady, go-getter. This team of guys I worked with were hardworking guys, just got it. They were there for the kids. There was no egos. It was all push them as far as you can. It was great. And my whole time there, I never mentioned anything that I worked for the government the whole time there.
Really?
Just never did. Yeah. 10 years and I never did. Yeah. I didn't a lot when I get home. Some of my friends will still think, is this bullshit or what? Yeah. Are you just, So I would sit in the firehouse and watch guys on TV that I knew being interviewed for stuff. And I would never say anything. I never wanted to. Yeah.
Interesting.
You don't want to be that guy.
Not even at your field trip at the zoo?
Oh my God, this idiot. That was your class, right? Well, I could joke around a little bit, sometimes. So I go to be the chaperone, take these kids to the zoo. Long story short, I get him and his 5 idiot buddies who are awesomely out of their mind. So we get there, and for some reason, the lady stands up on the bus before I get off and says, don't go to the north end to exit. The bus, that gate, they're fixing something there. They had something with a cage or an animal. Don't go over there. It's under construction. We'll meet the bus right here. Well, these guys were 6, 7. So, of course, I get them out, and they're like, yeah, we can't go over there because a lion got out or an alligator, whatever animal I said. And they're all like, really? Yeah. So they say, now we're walking around, and then the bus said, we'll be there at 2. Mm-hmm. And I got these kids 9 o'clock. It's like 11. We're eating lunch. I'm there. What time is it? Oh, man, it's 1:30. We got to get going back. I'm jagging them. I'm walking. We're not going anywhere near where they dropped us off. I'm like, man, we're on the north. This is not where we're supposed to be. And they're like, So now I take my phone out. I call their grammar school. I'm pretending.
Yeah. I
said, hey, the principal, whatever her name was, I can't remember. I got these kids here at the zoo. It's 2 o'clock. None of them know what time it is. They're that stupid. We're there 2 hours. They think we're there 4. I go, yeah, no. And this one kid, Joe and Jack, I said, no, we missed the bus because Joe kept telling me to go this one way. The kid is freaking out. I did not miss the Gorman. I said, Joe was telling me to go this way. We're at the north end. The bus left. You got to go back and drop all the kids at home. You won't get back here till dark. They're all completely freaking. So then I'm telling them that a guy working there, the animal got out and it ripped his leg off. So they're all in. And then, like a saint, a movie, you could have got lucky. We come around this corner, there's an ambulance there, and I don't know if some girl had the flu or whatever it was, but they were just closing the door enough. And I said, did you see all the blood on the floor? There was kids are like, yeah. And a guy comes walking around from the ambulance who worked there with one leg. With one leg. You couldn't have made it up. They were all starstruck. So we run into, sure enough, as we're walking around, we run into another group. Oh, and I saw a lady, during it. I said, hey, when I ask you what time it is, tell me it's almost 2 o'clock. So that helps. She was all in. I go, I got these kids. I'm making them think they're missing their bus. I go, hey, ma'am, do you know what time it is? Yeah, it's almost 2. So they were freaking. So then we run into another group. A chaperone had kids from the same school. And these kids, they're so smart. They're like, hey, you guys missed the bus too? The kids are all looking at them like,
what?
Oh, we didn't miss the bus. It's lunchtime. So, but we got back. All their parents started calling me very shortly after I got back. What in the hell did you do with these guys?
Some chaperone.
We saw blood, a guy without his leg. It was legit. Yeah.
That's awesome.
They were good to us.
Great.
That's awesome.
Good group of kids.
Great.
And then Jim, we talked last week. You filled me in on this Echoes of Courage event, October 17th at the Trump. Where can people kind of check out this event? How can they attend it and everything?
Echoesofcourage.org, I think it is on there. And it's we got Robbie O'Neill coming in. We got Dean Stott. He's like a British version of Rob. And we got Ryan Hubbard, who is the guru in on this whole psychedelics is a stretch because they're not a psychedelic. They're more psychoactive. I just did it. I just got back 2 weeks ago. They sent me down there. And you fly into San Diego. I did with the Ibogaine group, and you're a night there, and then a van comes over, nondescript van, and they pick you up. They take you into Tijuana. You're on the south end of Tijuana, so you're only an hour from the border. Mm-hmm. It's a nice neighborhood. It's a nice house, and then they proceed to go through this 4-day thing to get you ready for it, and they're finding some great results. I know they sent some hardcore guys. A lot of veterans are starting to go. Yeah. And first responders, because they're starting to realize about 4 or 5 years ago, they pumped money into ours. Firemen and policemen, their suicide rate is 34, 36 times higher than the general population. Yeah. They're just guys that just trip off. And I know too many. I had a guy kill himself out of my house, and who I came on a job with, who was a prince of a guy you'd never know. Mm-hmm. And then I transferred to another firehouse in the seat I sat in. They said, that guy killed himself when I got to the new house. Oh. So it was, it's there. And I think the 3 markets they're seeing now for this is the veterans, first responders, and NFL athletes, surprisingly. Yeah.
And for addicts, right, too?
And addiction is the new frontier that they're finding. It's really been eventful for
have you done more than one treatment, or was this your first?
No, I just did my one.
Okay.
Yep.
Because that was like a stat that I had heard, that it was, if you are an addict, if you do one like 80% of people just never go back to whatever their addiction was after one treatment, and then if you have a second treatment, it goes up to 97%.
That's what I hear, and I've been reading up to since I went and before. It's very true, and they're finding that we were just at an event, and Governor Perry was there down in Houston.
Yeah, I saw that actually. There. Yeah,
and he went and he sat talking to us, and he does it for. He's been, I think, twice, maybe 3 times, for Alzheimer's stuff. He's afraid of getting it, so he has his brain read before he goes, and then he's found that it's filling in his frontal lobe with stuff. He's, they're finding guys, pipe hitters, and NFL guys, that it's rerouting those veins kind of in damaged areas. So and addiction is the big one that's taken off, but. It's
what's it like? So, because you hear about like and you said it's not really a psychedelic, because you hear about like DMT, where it's like, I got blasted to outer space, and you have these visions. So do you have like, how long does it last? What is the actual experience like when you're actually getting the treatment?
I think, Chief, there's a build up to it too. Before you go, if you're going there thinking that you're just going to do this and be good, it's not. It's like, for me, I had a sleep study, and my wife will tell you, for 40 years I would sleep 2 hours a night, 2-3 hours. That's all I needed. Yeah. But she was like, "This is going to kill you eventually. You're going to." So that was my thing. I wouldn't sleep, and I would just get up. I was just anxious, and I thought, send other guys. I don't need to go. But they're like, "Well, anxious is a form of this. You need to go." So they funded me. I'm very fortunate that I got that. Lucky again. I fell into a window. There was a group going, and I got in. And so there's a couple week buildup that they get you that you got to do. It's more mindfulness. If I would categorize it, it's a wellness week for dudes to go. And it isn't like you sit in a circle and you bleed hard and you talk. That'll come up organically every once in a while, just talking to someone. But it's not like that. It's mostly to get you got to be in a place where for me, you got to kind of decouple your mind a little bit, drop it down. So there's meditations. Okay. There's, you get in saunas, you get little Zen moments where you kind of drift off, and And so I was looking for reasons not to go. I thought, you know, they had an issue with some funding or something. And I thought, great, I don't want to go. But I guess most guys who go there don't think they need it. And I was there, cops and firemen. I was supposed to go the week before with a bunch of veterans, but I ended up going on this one. And then when you kind of let your brain decouple, for me, that was new. I didn't know how to do that. You go to the gym, you work out, you do all that stuff, but my brain would race if I relaxed. So I always had trouble sleeping. I think the week I did they said write it down. I think I had 15 hours of sleep. And so I would micro nap with the wife. I'd pull up to a stoplight, and if it just turned red, I'd tell her, all right, wake me up when it's green. And I would put my head back, and I'd be sound asleep for 30, 45 seconds. And I felt like I slept for an hour. I'd wake up and I'd run again for another 8 hours. I didn't need anything. So I was fortunate that way when I was working for the government and everything. In the Navy, it was awesome.
So is that a thing even when you were a kid?
No, I just noticed that when I was young enough, when I was away working, that I didn't need a lot of sleep.
Okay.
But it just, then the fire department didn't help in the sense that it just carried it over. You're sound asleep, then you get this adrenaline dump, and then you come back and your body's saying, hey, are we done with this danger spot? Are you good? And your brain's like, yeah, I'm good. But sometimes your body's saying, I'm still awake. Or I knew it wasn't anything, but my head was still seeing stuff. Yeah. Nothing, but you wouldn't sleep. Your brain didn't shut it off. So for me, that was an issue that I had to confront. And this thing, and Echoes of Courage, came up, and they in the 343 group, this Angela woman who was amazing. They fund guys to do this, and so I went, and then so if you do the build up stuff, and you kind of start doing that, when you do it, Chief, it's they do it at night. So that Thursday, you get there Tuesday night in San Diego, you're in Wednesday there, you do the lodge, you do your stretching, yoga, mindfulness, you do that. They hook you up to a port right away once you get there. So they got doctors, they're checking you every 4 hours, man. It's amazing down there. They got nurse staff. So then the day comes to do it Thursday, and everybody's looking at each other like, man, your palms are sweating. You wish you could just get up and take it, and just roll. But the tradition is to do it at night. So that's the long day. You got documentaries you watch. You go through more mindfulness. So you're ready by this point. You're all right. Let's do this. And then they do it by weight. It's prorated. So they give you a flood dose. It's called, and so everyone has a different amount. They'll put it in your cup. So they walk around. I think it was like 9 o'clock is your first one. We're just standing outside. You got a fire. You're just talking, and you're on a roof of this building. It's all fenced in, and then your first one's at 9. And then they come 45 minutes later for your second dose. And then it's every 15 minutes for like an hour or whatever it is. So for me, I don't drink coffee. I never did. I never picked it up. My motor spins pretty easy once I wake up. And so for me, after the first dose, probably 20 minutes later, I was feeling it. It felt like little snowflakes were falling on my arms or my leg. He goes, yeah, it'll come in your extremities first. That's where you feel it. So, and then they have a room that they got your mattresses laid out, and the EKG machine's right next to them. So we all shot the shit for another 20 minutes. And then I figured, well, I'll go in and, get my stuff all set, what I need. And so I was making it up, and then I was sitting there, and then the woman comes around. Now I'm starting to feel it. I'm thinking, she gives me my second dose, and I said, all right, I'm definitely starting to feel this. I want to lay down, because they say, lay down, let this happen. So they put on this weeby music. It's horrible for taking the stuff. They got to change it. It's just horrible music. It's a traditional African thing that just doesn't even sound like music. It's just noise. So then she came by with my third dose, but I said, no, you're messing up. That's my second one. I just took that. And she goes, no, it's been 15 minutes already. So I already know time's compressing. Okay. So I take that one, and then I lay down.
Is it oral?
Yeah, it's a pill. Okay. They prorate it. They make them for you.
Okay.
And then now I know I'm getting it. I'm starting to hit this. Yeah. And then when they came around with, I think the final dose is one in honey that they put on a spoon, because now you've ingested it. It's working its way through your stomach. The last one, they want to hit your sublingual. They want you to get in your blood right away. Okay. So, but that one, I was fortunate enough that you're starting to go under. Then I held my hand up. The lady knelt down next to me, and I just put my finger up like, hold on a minute. And I don't know how long it was, but when I looked again, she was gone. So I didn't get the last dose. It happened to another guy in our group. Okay. And I was pretty lucky I didn't, because it rocks you pretty hard. But when it starts, you got to kind of focus on things. And then the way I would describe it is, it's like a Rolodex is things start coming into your head. They give you these things to pull over your head, and like sleeping things.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. You actually, it's a humming, and then it starts to come up the back of your head, and you the way they described it, the doctor, was you got the lobes and everything in your head, these different regions. If you're reading a book or talking to someone, 2 or 3 parts are engaged. You're watching a movie, you're falling in love, 3 or 4. If you do Ibogaine, all of them start to crosswire. Everything just gets tossed up. So you have hundreds and hundreds of images flying by you. Your mind will only grab a couple of them, but so as you're there, you're starting to, the music, you're starting to feel it, like, all right. And then I was fighting it. Your first reaction, you want to, I don't do psychs. I don't do, I did gummies once. I don't like them. And so your arms, I'm fighting it. And then it turns out, the guy came by me and goes, "Here, Jim, put your mask on." I thought I had it on. I was starting to, as soon as I put my mask on, then the second time, it just went like 3, 2, 1. My whole body just felt like a warm blanket got wrapped around me, Now I know, all right, we're going here.
Yeah.
And so it's nothing, for me, it was a friend of mine, Rob O'Neill, was coaching me through this before I went, and he kept saying, just his last words I remember saying, just let it happen, man. Just let it go, because our all instincts is to somehow push back on it. You want to be in control. So I literally was one of the last, he put that on me, and I was like, as soon as I felt that warmness, I said, I'm just gonna let this go, man. And then it starts to, you start to do, I think part of it is because it's the first time your brain starts to relax, that the first place you go for me is your family. Pictures of my family, brothers, sisters, real quick, and then my wife and kids would all come in, like your first thing you think of is where you want to be or something.
Yeah.
I didn't have any, I had 2 things that I remember thinking, that's scary. I remember 2 things that came up related to my first job, but they were scary. I remember thinking, that's scary, but then it wasn't. I remember, like, you could point at it and say, oh, that's scary, and then it went away. Mm-hmm. And then the rest were family and the kids and my wife, and it gets you where you. I remember I was crying through some of it. It just happens. But then, if you take your thing off, you could look next to you and you're kind of like, all right, I'm here. I get
okay.
it.
Yeah.
You're a little out, and then if you got to go to the bathroom, they got to hold you because your limbs are kind of shaky and stuff. And then I remember, then you just think, I got to get through this. And
do you feel like you have any control over what comes in your brain when you're in that state?
No, I didn't. When you let it kind of go, you got to kind of do that. I think that's the big thing. You just kind of turn all into it. Okay. And then the next, I remember going to the bathroom. She took me in, and I could look out the window, and I was like, all right, the sun's coming up, man. I was like, cool, I'm making it through the night
so
here.
It lasted that long then?
Yeah.
So what time was
8, 10 hours.
Dose?
First dose at 9 at night.
Okay.
I didn't get out of bed till afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was still there.
Okay.
So I finally felt good enough to get up, and then it still rocks your world pretty good the next day. But I was pretty lucky. Some guys it beat up worse. You're dry heaving.
Physically.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It takes a toll, and then but you grind, and it's you get through by late lunch, dinner that night. I was taking a shower. I was like, all right, I'm coming back, and then even you start to see stuff more. Like I just did a couple of days ago. I was sitting with the wife, and I was like, oh, that Alder James guy I brought up. He walked right by me in one.
Really?
Walked right by me. Swear to God.
Wow.
Walked right by me. And so weird stuff like that I remembered a couple of days later. And I was like, oh, there's another. And they said, that'll happen. You'll go weeks, and this kind of thing will happen. So then.
Did they recommend you like journal any of this?
They did. Yeah. Okay. They give it to you the next day. But so I have that at home. And then you recoup. Then you do more mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And then the guys were all going through it, hashing it out. And then the DMT is coming the Saturday. So Friday's your gray day. They took your phone. They just let you kind of grind through. And then if you can eat, I think I just had a little thing of tapioca or pudding, or that was all I didn't want to eat, because I knew if I just wanted to ride this and get it out of me.
Yeah.
And then
wait, so there's a DMT like
DMT is to come Saturday.
Okay.
5-MeO-3 DMT.
Really?
Whatever.
Okay, I didn't know that part.
It's not together, and that's the phase 2 of it.
Okay.
Chief. So then Saturday, that comes and they separate you. So you're sitting waiting, and then as the guy goes and gets his treatment, he goes up on the roof because they don't want yours to interfere with mine.
Yeah, sure.
That same kind of thing, it could all be unique. And then I'll tell you, it's not uncommon to yell or something, you know. They go through a breathing thing with you. They show you what it's going to be, and then...
and is that intravenously? Is that a smoke?
No, that's you smoke.
Okay.
So it could trigger you because I'm like, all right, what is this? But it's in a perfume vial, and he showed it to me, and if you spilled on his table, it was like 3 salt grains. I mean, it was nothing.
Really? Okay.
It was amazing how small it is. So I'm thinking, so you breathe that in, and all I told him was I had a bad back, shoulder. I just said, listen, man, lay me down this way. I'll be comfortable there. And I did it. You breathe it in. Then he starts counting back to 10. I lost him after 3, man. You could feel him. And they got all these beds laid around, and there's a tech there, a nurse, and the guy who's coaching you through it. And I was down, man. I was gone. 22 minutes.
22 minutes?
22 minutes, yeah.
Did you have any concept of that? Did it feel like 10 hours? Did it feel...
Felt like a month.
Really? Okay.
Not exaggerating.
Okay.
I sat up and I was like, what just happened? It was that's your, you know, everybody's got their own private thing there, and it was that was the most insane thing. I'm 61 years old now that I've ever had experienced.
Would you do this again?
All of us said no.
Okay.
But if I thought I was getting Alzheimer's or something like that, I would go back.
Okay.
Okay. It's not. I would say for people who are interested, do everything you can first. Do mindfulness. Get into that. Try to grind down on it. And if that doesn't help you, go do the Ibogaine because it's legit.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's a recreational.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. No one's going to get addicted to it. You're not going to go to a party and like, hey, let's drop Ibogaine. It's never going to happen. And it's a root. So when you leave as first responders and stuff, you're not going to piss hot.
Yeah.
You know, so it's got that facet too. It's you know, it's not a psychedelic where you're completely out of it.
Right.
You're sleeping much better and everything, right?
I am, yeah. I sleep 4 hours at a crack now. Then I'll get up and I'll fall asleep for another hour.
Wow.
Honest to God, as soon as I get home, I notice I feel like $1 million.
In that month that you're in the DMT,
right.
Do you remember, like you said, you had these images of your family and some other, you know, unusual images from your past. Do you have is a recollection of that 22 minutes similar or different than the Ibogaine?
Do you know what? The way I would word it is a dream. You know you're in a dream. You wake up. You're like, wow, that was cool. But I was dreaming. That was kind of vivid. Even this, Chief, I will tell you, it is. You are there.
Okay.
You are legit, and I'm not a guy I'm the anti-conspiracy guy. If I would have heard someone say this before, I would have thought he's probably full of crap.
Yeah.
But you are there. You feel it. It is legit. I woke up full of tears, cry and laugh. It was a cry laugh. I was so happy. I was just like, I lifted my thing up. I looked at the guy. I was just like, what in the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And he said, 22 minutes you were gone. And it is vivid. Now, they do say that they do a DMT treatment at home. They go visit. There's groups that can do that. I don't know anything about that. I know for me and the guys there, that build up and doing all the work before it seemed to help.
Okay.
I don't think you can just parachute in and go to a party and do DMT. I don't know.
Okay.
It can. People can probably do it, but I wouldn't. And you could do 2 when you're there. They say, do you want to do another one? And I said, no. What I did was so unique.
Like back to back, or like you wait a day?
No, you can do 2 right there.
Okay.
And they recommend it. The guy goes, if you have a good one, take it. And I just said, you know what? That to me was so personal and so amazing that I don't want to mess it up. I was...
Do you feel like you're spiritually changed at all after that?
It's private, but you know, I was. It isn't only me. There are guys that you talk to that. I know a guy that was a non-religious guy. He is now full in.
Yeah, I wasn't asking.
Stuff. Yeah. I mean, but you do for me, and not everyone. I think out of 8 of us, 2 of them didn't.
Okay.
They didn't have that.
Okay.
But the one guy went with Andy. I saw him. I was sitting by a couch and I saw him come down the stairs first. He was a cop on the East Coast, great guy. And I just gave him a thumbs up, like, you're right, because the last thing, you don't want to get sick and beat up like you did from the...
Yeah.
He just looked at me, thumbs up, and then he just goes, poof, like that. And he walks outside. They had a trail where you can walk outside a little area. So I was like, all right, good, he's not sick. I'm good now, I'm pumped, let's go do this. So I just turned all into it, and I was like, I'm here, I rode this horse, we're going home tomorrow, let me in, let me do this. So I just turned into it and went, and it... I'm here to tell you that the craziest experience I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Ever. So I mean, if I don't know if it's separate, people do it or anything, but the program that have down there for Ibogaine is
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow.
You know, you'll find other guys that have different things, and there's a couple guys that the Ibogaine didn't do much. But I hit it out of the park with both of them because I just said, I'm here, let's roll with it, and it worked.
Do you think that we're on a path with more people like you and the guys who are doing this, Echoes for Courage? Are we on a path to legalization so you don't have to go to Tijuana?
You know, I hope so, Chief. I think that, you know, Texas is leading the way.
Yeah.
A couple other states we mentioned down there. States are starting to step up and say, I mean, they put $50 million into it.
Yeah.
And it ain't like it's a dog and pony show. Stanford did that study where 30 guys went down, and I think 28 of them or 30 showed improvements in there. So I think it's showing. It's got, like anything, you know how the fight, you got to have FDA and all that. It's got to carve out a niche there, which is way bigger than us to talk about, right? So I mean, but there's no addiction. You don't leave there and say, I'm gonna go do Ibogaine next weekend. It was
right. Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. But if you turn into it and let it happen, it's an experience that is definitely it will rewire your brain. You feel it. You can physically feel it. Coming in.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, it's coming to NFL now and all these other places. First responders, I think, is the new frontier that they got to take a look at and getting these guys fine. I think when I was there, there's only been 120 of them or whatever the number was go through there. So
do you think there's a benefit, you know, just based on your own experience, that a civilian, like a guy like me, like I don't have like severe trauma or PTSD or anything, like, do you think it's something that you know, an everyday person would benefit from, or do you think it's like you were saying, like a last?
I think that everyone has some sort of trauma. I was pretty lucky in the sense that even all the stuff I saw and all the things, even on the, you know, the fire department, you know, you do see enough shootings and accidents. They're horrible. And then I remember it changes with your eyes. When my kids were small, I would notice a kid in the room at a scene or an accident. You know, you want to help him first. Then as my parents and the kids got out and my parents got older, you went to a scene, you noticed the old boy in the corner. You're like, there's a guy waiting. So it changes. But, you know, I think if, and you're probably like a lot of us, I'm pretty lucky in life. I got a happy ass. I've got nothing but been blessed. Yeah. I didn't think I needed it except for my sleep, and I went, and it's been amazing. Okay. So I think if there are hurdles in a guy's life, divorces down the road, drinking, things like that, drugs, that prescriptions even, that come your way, if you can do the other things first and give them a legit effort, because I mean, you go to these things now, and I'm these from all walks of life, first hitters to pipe hitters, the guys who've done some great stuff, and everybody, the spectrum that have gone there, that if you turn into it and let that happen and do the whole mindfulness and kind of decouple a bit of your brain and let it work, it definitely has things that are worth doing and worth exploring, and I'm now part of I'm a disciple of it. I'm Governor Perry and these people that we met, I'm all in on doing what I can to get this out there and make guys aware of it. The big hurdle is culturally. Yeah. You know, the military's a little better now in the sense that they've got money, and you got all these guys who've done great stuff coming up. Marcus Luttrell, Rob saying, I've done it. It's Sean Ryan. Yeah. And the firemen and cops, 90% of your problems, though, are solved with your buddies out having a few beers. That's literally where they all get resolved. Yeah. But you don't know if a guy has a red flag. You don't know what's going to send that in a different direction. So it's hard to quantify. But I think if a hint of your brain starts to think, I may look into that, that's it then. That's your toe in, and you should then go. But you know, I will admit, before I sat down and they're like, your sleep is horrible, this is going to kill you, I didn't think I needed to go. There's always somebody more deserving than me, you know. But now that I did it, I'm all in with this group. We're having our event down there at Trump Tower, October 17th. It's Friday night. Ron Hubbard is going to be there. He's going to speak at these at length. If you guys want to come, we'd love to have you show up.
I've been very curious about this space, so I'm thrilled that you shared that.
Man, I'm very humbled to you guys to do that. That's but it's there as a resource, and I just think as a guy who went from knowing nothing, reading a little about it before I went, to okay, I'll go check it out.
Yeah.
Game changer.
What about Eileen? Did you have any trepidations about him going down for this treatment, or were you all aboard?
She was hoping I was going to get kidnapped by a cartel.
I was a little worried, but I thought it would help him sleep.
Okay.
So she said she was a little worried, but she thought it would help him sleep.
Yeah. So
People listening.
Yep.
And what could our listeners do to kind of help support and, make sure some of our veterans and first responders can get this treatment?
God, Eddie, there's a site if you guys pop it up. And
yeah, we'll put that in the description and everything.
God, I appreciate that. And show up, guys. I know the tickets are a little steep, but it's a good cause. It costs $10,000 to go down there and get this treatment.
Wow.
It does. There's groups out there now paying for it. There's fundraisers, and this is part of it to send guys down there. And it's steep. It's dinner, drinks included, hanging out.
Yeah.
These guys will be there, access to them, talk all day to whatever those guys want. And this is it's kind of twofold, to raise money to get there and also to start to begin to knock down these barriers.
Yeah.
Where
so like a PR.
Yeah. It's you want to take away the stigma. You want to take, because everybody, if you bring it up, 9 out of 10 people don't know what it is.
Right.
Or if you do, they think it's a psychedelic.
Yeah.
Like you're going to do drugs, and it's not. It's psychoactive. It activates parts of your brain.
It's not the same thing as grabbing a bunch of mushrooms.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a root that goes out of your system.
Yeah.
It's gone. And so to see the guys that have gone and what it's done for them, it has literally saved people's lives. I mean, not even a joke. So, I mean... or
even just the quality of your life if you're not... So
yes.
If you break your addiction,
right.
So...
Yeah. And addiction's the next big wave that they're seeing. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm all in. I'm doing whatever they can for it. I'll preach it to the day's end, but I won't bring it up because you sound like...
Yeah.
This guy took psychedelics. What a whack job or something. So you just... You kind of let it lie, but...
You'll just say it on the internet for thousands
of people. Like they call it now. If you went and did it, you're behind a veil. You did it.
Yeah.
It's kind of just there, and but I am a disciple. Yep. So I appreciate you guys taking some time and doing that, man. It's very kind of you.
Fascinating conversation. I love talking to you. Yeah. So appreciate your time.
Yeah, really, really happy we made this happen. We met you at Papa Hops. And
God.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to run and interact with those young kids at the Papa Hops, man. They crush it.
Papa
great
Hops
crew,
is
man.
Great, yeah.
And glad you guys go, and I look forward to catching you there again.
Yeah, we'll see you next summer.
For sure.
Yeah.
One more time, everyone. That's October 17th. That's a Friday at Trump Tower, echoesofcourage.org. Like you said, Brian Hubbard, Rob O'Neill, Dean Stott, you'll be there.
Yep.
I'm sure people will just be as excited to talk to you now after this. So it's going to be awesome.
Not so much.
Yeah. No,
I don't know. I don't know about that.
They will. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Jim.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
very much.
All right. That's it, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all on Tuesday.